Fast on
Can
the
you hear
uptake.
me, David Lee Scales?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Good. How was my audio?
Sounds all right to me.
Fantastic.
You wearing eye makeup today?
Heck yeah, I'm in character already, man. I gotta go straight from this to on stage.
Um, it's the grid. It's December 21st, 4 days before Christmas. You go straight from this to on stage where?
I go straight from this to on stage at the Nutcracker at the California Center for, let me read the sign here, for the Arts in Escondido, California, David Lee.
Um, you froze. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you perfectly.
Okay, you froze for a minute there.
Sorry.
Okay. Back again. You're still a little bit sketchy.
Oh man. Come on, phone.
Come on, what do we do?
Work. Uh, Maybe should I drive somewhere with better coverage?
I don't know. It seems okay right now.
Okay, here, I'm gonna put the phone here.
Okay.
Yeah,
So is this a rehearsal performance or this is an actual performance?
this is just rehearsal. This has been rehearsing since Monday. The show is tomorrow and Saturday.
See, I envisioned in my life in the future for me that there will be Elf on the Shelf, there will be gingerbread houses. I never envisioned that I would be dancing in a Nutcracker. Was this something that you saw in your life?
I absolutely did not see it, though. Weirdly, my buddy sent it to me the other day. Might have even mentioned it on the podcast before. When daughter was like 2 or something, I wrote a whole giant proposal of doing ballet with her, which I didn't remember writing at all. So, yeah, I must have somewhere. I must have manifested this
What do you mean you wrote a proposal?
like a book proposal. Like it was a full on, I think it was called And Death Wears a Pink Tutu was the name of it. And it was a full book about, I don't know if I was dancing in the proposal, to be honest. So that might be a little surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was definitely following her around doing ballet. And that was before she had ever done any ballet.
That is an argument for manifestation. It's kind of
Me and
interesting.
Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, exactly. Does your daughter do Elf on a Shelf?
She does. She loves Elf on a Shelf. And she's beyond, of course, like the point of believing that it's moving itself now, except loves it so much that keeps the dream alive. Like yeah, it will not admit that it doesn't move on itself.
Did are you responsible for placing it every day, or do you split the duties with your wife?
I'm responsible. You can't split because if you split, a split equals things, the elf falling through the crack.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
Um,
there's going to be one night where it's going to be, I thought. So yeah, it's so rote now for me. Like it is an automatic, I come home, put her to bed, go down, move the elf.
gotcha. My introduction to it was on Netflix. He has a bunch of shows and movies now. Like there's all of this merch and content that comes with the product itself. So we found the movies first, then we got the elf a couple of weeks ago, and now it's a big part of our lives. But I researched who invented this. When was it invented? It was actually a mother-daughter combo, and their estimated net worth is currently $50 million, all from Elf on the Shelf.
I'll tell you why, David Lee Scales. Do you want to know why? You don't just get one elf on the shelf. You then get babies for the elf on the shelf and a husband for the elf on the shelf. They also, and I don't know if the mother and daughter get the proceeds for this, there's a Snoop Dogg elf on the shelf, a Snoop on the shelf.
Crazy. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yep.
Well, but what a genius idea. You know what I mean? Like so simple, easy to execute, and it dominates the market. Like there's no
Isn't
competitor.
isn't there some nefariousness though? I do believe that the elf on the shelf, I haven't read the book, but have been led to believe that the elf on the shelf is a straight narc, that the elf on the shelf is supposed to run back to Santa Claus and straight rat out what you're doing,
Yeah,
uh,
that is the concept.
which is horrible. So the elf on the shelf is Big Brother, is like state level surveillance back to Santa Claus.
That's how you get your kid to do what you want. That's the whole point, is like the elf's going to sit here and make sure that you're nice, not naughty, report back to Santa. And that's why he's in a new location when he shows up in the morning. And if you touch him, your humanness will eradicate his magic and he won't be able to fly tomorrow.
So apparently, there's a workaround there that my daughter employs, which I don't know where this came from, but you put cinnamon on the elf and then you can move the elf. And that keeps elf magic. So if you for some reason need to touch your elf, then you cinnamon up your hands, which provides extra joy in the house when they're dumping cinnamon all over the place. Yeah, to touch their elf.
It is a festive solution that she designed. Nutmeg
Yeah,
fit as well, but she really stuck with the theme.
she did. I think it was, yeah, I feel that she did not, that must have been a YouTube hack somewhere that,
Gotcha.
yeah, you dump cinnamon. But yeah, these days though, like her baby this morning, I had the elf in a precarious. Elf is sometimes vaguely suicidal in my house, like kind of hanging, and sometimes her babies will drop. But the daughter picked the baby up today and placed it back on the elf without cinnamon. So again, like she loves the elf on the shelf so much that she will refuse to say, I don't believe this. But yeah, and the two I stick with, to be honest, the two, I'm like, I don't know about Santa Claus. I don't know about any of this. The two that I am insistent upon are, yes, Elf on the Shelf is real. I don't touch it. And the Tooth Fairy is real. Those are the two where I lay like to the grave. My dad was to the grave. Tooth Fairy is real to me. And so I'm passing that on. Like, of course not. Santa Claus, what a ridiculous concept. All those presents in one night, et cetera, et cetera. But the Tooth Fairy is one that you should lean into the Tooth Fairy for Austin when he starts losing the chompers.
Will do. I like it. I like keeping any sense of wonderment alive.
Yeah, the Tooth Fairy whole sitch is fun because you get to work on it'll be the only time of the year, I guess, and as he gets older, it'll be multiple times during the year that you can write in a fancy squiggly cursive.
Mhm. Okay,
You
I'll
learn
have to practice it. It's been a long time.
exactly, but you learned cursive, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, at
kids
some
don't learn
point.
cursive anymore. Yeah. And so if you sit down, you can actually write cursive again, which as I was doing actually the last Tooth Fairy note, I realized what a weird skill that is for our generation to have and our parents and whatever. Cursive. Like we learned how to write, and then we learned how to write in a totally different way with like the cursive R is in no way, shape, or form related to the R we write. The like there's a bunch of those. The Q is totally wacky.
If you think about it, we don't really write period, full
Full stop.
stop, even print, just like, because I did write a bunch of Christmas cards this year, or at least notes, and it was very awkward for me. Like I had to slow myself down, kind of pace it, measure myself out, because I was writing like a doctor's kind of script that was just unintelligible. So I really had to focus on it. And I think it's just because I was out of practice.
Yeah, well, Tooth Fairy up. Get ready
Okay.
right now. Start writing cursive.
Okay. I'll start working on that. The one thing I do like about, not the one thing, but what I do like about your ballet thing is it's such an investment in the season and the festiveness of the season, and that makes you get more out of it, because it's easy, especially when you don't have kids, just to kind of go through the motions, probably drink too much, eat too much, whatever, and just kind of like it probably zaps, actually all of that overindulgence probably zaps some of the vividness out of it. But when you're doing, essentially push-ups every day instead, it's an investment in it that you will then get more joy out of and reflect back on more fondly.
She was cast. They did castings for this Nutcracker August 20th ish. And so I've been living holiday season
Wow.
since August, and they don't start heavy rehearsals right away, but heavy rehearsals start in 1st of September. So they get cast and then it's boom. It is like, Tchaikovsky, Nutcracker music around the house all day, every day until, yeah, no. So I've been living Christmas, which is great. What else are you going to do in fall, right? I mean, fall
Yeah.
is great for your Thanksgivings, your Halloweens, all this stuff, but to have Christmas permeating the entire thing, I will tell you though, the letdown is heavy. When you have like been mainlining Christmas for 3 months. So again, I mean, the amount of rehearsal is insane, which not to mention any of the normal weekly rehearsals leading up. This is theater week right now. So starting Monday, she has been at the theater here, drop her off at 2:30, and she is done at 10 p.m. And
Wow.
so it is like 8 to, I don't know, tomorrow I'll show day. I'll drop her off at 10 in the morning and done at 10 at night. So it's like 8 to 12, or yeah, 8 to 12 hours. And then it's over. Like Saturday evening show, curtain drops, finished. That's it. And so
Wow.
yeah, the come down, the withdrawals are heavy.
Gonna have to get all those kids and parents together in like a decompression group therapy sort of a
Completely,
thing.
completely.
Well, I've got a very warm-hearted story to kick us off here that is in fact surf related. We were talking about the divorcee who needed to just get rid of his quiver.
Yes.
And we found our good buddy Noel from Collectivo Surf in Baja, who is going to collect the boards and distribute them to kids in Baja. That has all taken place in the last week.
I mean, Merry Christmas, one and all.
Yeah, the divorcee in a follow-up subsequent email during this past week, he said his favorite board, or the one that he's most eager to get rid of, was actually one that they had at their wedding for guests to sign in on. So,
Perfect.
it's a sentimental thing because there's all these beautiful messages from friends who he's still friends with, except for the fact that it represents the union that has since failed. So he was excited to get rid of that one. And Noel emailed 2 days ago and he said, "Hey, gents, I was able to bring 5 of the boards to Baja yesterday. 3 Groms are now rocking brand new boards just before Christmas. Most of your boards were customs, super nice quiver. Again, super kind of you to give them new life here in Baja. I'll send photos of the other boards as they are given out. I tried to acetone and then 240 grit on your wedding gift board, but the writing would not come off. I guess it's meant to stay. Cheers."
I mean, that's perfect though. I cannot wait. That kid right there who gets that board, imagine he becomes the next John Florence or Gabriel Medina or Jeremy Flores. And that's the board that got him started. The
It
wedding writing board.
it will dethrone Italo's story of learning to surf on an ice chest cooler.
It'll be so much better than that and so much more powerful. Man, that really is a heartwarming Christmas story.
It really is. Collectivo Surf is Noel's website. If you guys, anybody wants to get a hold of him, or I was thinking, I'm apprehensive to take on a whole thing, but I was thinking we could do this regularly, especially for people in San Diego. Just do a collection every quarter or something like that. For anybody who has boards in their garage that they haven't ridden and they want to go to a good home, we can do this. We can
I
organize
mean,
something like this.
let's do it. And I am happy to house those boards and hand them
Okay.
off to Noel.
Okay, perfect. I have a couple as well. I just haven't been to San Diego in the last week or so that I'm going to contribute. So I will start the process from here and maybe we'll advertise it, organize it on social media or something like that.
Love it. Look
All
at
right,
us.
sweet. We have a inquiry from a listener here that I personally cannot solve for him. I don't know if you can,
For
but
sure.
okay. Well, it takes a very specialized expertise on this. So,
Don't worry.
okay. I shouldn't I shouldn't underestimate you, but I do know within our listener realm, there will absolutely be some very precise advice. So I'm putting this out here to be answered, if not today, certainly within the next week. Chime in and I'll deliver this info back to our listener. But he says, "Hey guys, big fan and longtime supporter. I'm in the final, by the way, you will appreciate this. It's about sailing. I'm in the final year of a multi-year adventure of sailing from Canada to New Zealand. And the best part is yet to come, the South Pacific Islands. Your podcasts have often been my companion on solo night shifts, sailing down the American and Mexican coastlines. I'll be departing mainland Mexico in early 2024 for a month at sea before making landfall in Marquesas. My only crew is my fiance. This is without a doubt way beyond either of our sailing experience in terms of the open ocean and wildly remote sailing, but we feel ready based on the skills that we've accumulated on the journey so far, albeit we are a little nervous. This dream has always been about the surf, finding warm water reef breaks with nobody in sight that we can anchor at for weeks at a time. Maybe, just maybe, get enough time in the water in uncrowded waves to take a step up in my 10 plus years of intermediate surfing. Think Torrin Martin's latest film, Calypti, but with much, much poorer surfing. Needless to say, this is a once in a decade type of adventure that I'm looking to your wisdom or the wisdom of your audience for help. If you were going to spend around 4 or 5 days at a nice resort, hotel, or cabin in Tahiti or Moorea as part of a wedding and honeymoon, where would you go? I'm thinking once in a decade splurge with a wedding as a part of an excuse to drop some dough and treat ourselves to get off the boat and experience something really nice. Ideally, with access to a reliable wave that is otherwise hard to get to and has a low crowd factor, either Tahiti or Moorea or one of the close by islands. It will be July 2024, so the swell season, of course, will need to be considered. I'm already on the Namotu waitlist via waterwaystravel.com, but looking for another recommendation, ideally in the Moorea area. Would you consider, or I would also consider options in Tonga, the Cook Islands, and Fiji as well for the September or the July through September swell window. Thanks, guys, for keeping us informed and entertained week in and week out. Um, um, I'll leave it there. I'll come back to that portion, but I'll let you address his question first.
I can't believe you ever doubt. Have you ever been to
Sorry.
Tahiti? Have you ever been to French Polynesia, David Lee Scales?
No, I haven't.
I have been there, and I have one great recommendation off the bat. What's his windows again?
July through September.
And it glitched right when you said who was traveling with it. I'm assuming you said girlfriend,
Beyonce.
fiance. Okay. So Chopu, the end of the road right there, they're building a brand new aluminum tower. And I think that would be as prime, pristine as you could get for this first Bachnal. No?
This is a $5 million investment. It's got to be nice.
I mean, exactly. I don't know that it has bathrooms per se, but I don't know, to be honest. You're going to be eating a lot of pesce crudo, and I don't know if you need a bathroom if all you're eating is pesce crudo. But
Poisson crew.
I mean, poisson cru, sorry. Pesce crudo is the Italian version of poisson cru. Uh, but aside from that, I'll go into my travel log. I can't remember. We did do Tahiti. Uh, Papeete is not, don't, obviously, nobody stays there. Don't stay there. Chopu is totally worth a visit, though. Like almost, especially if you're sailing, just do it. It is like, feels like a pilgrimage. I mean, the pilgrimages in surfing, I feel you got Pipeline, you've got J-Bay, you have Chopu, I think. Those are the surfing pilgrimages, right?
Cloud break.
Cloud Break is a pilgrimage. Uh, there's not many though, right?
Right.
But Chopu is definitely one of them. Go to Chopu. But also Moorea, I think we stayed on. Bora Bora, my buddy sailed actually, you know, that's what I'm gonna ask. My buddy sailed Tahiti, went and chartered a boat, captained it himself, of course, but sailed all over. And apparently there's an island that has a French restaurant so up its guts that you can only get there via sailboat. You sail up and it is like next level. So yeah, I'll get all this information straight to you after the show. I'm sorry that you're not going to be able to get the information while listening, but stay tuned, dear friend. It's on the way.
Sounds good. Now I have a question. I guess my thought would be he said he wants access. It's going to be 4 or 5 days and he wants access to a wave nearby, preferably uncrowded. I'm suggesting it's your honeymoon. You're on a sailboat in search of surf already. take the three or four, or don't let that be a qualifier for the quality of the splurge. Like the getting access to waves should be low on the priority scale here. Presuming you've surfed all the way up until those 4 or 5 days and you're going to be surfing after that, focus on what is just the best splurge for the honeymoon.
Yeah, and I'm not, but I think there's a Conrad hotel. Have you ever stayed at a Conrad, David Lee Scales? The
Not only
Conrad,
not only have I not, I've never even heard of it.
yeah, the Conrad is a fine, fine hotel. And there's a Conrad, I do believe, on Tahiti. I'll get the information though.
So now I'm clueless as to what the budget would be. Like what's an average room rate for something like that for a night?
For like an overwater bungalow or a beach bungalow.
Either at a place like the Conrad.
It's probably 2 to 3 grand a night.
Okay.
Yeah, simple.
So I mean, everybody's definition of splurge is different, of course. And so three grand a night times 5 nights, or yeah, 5 nights would be 15K is what he's looking at here.
Yeah,
Plus
but
those dinners that you have to sail to, those aren't cheap either.
you're fishing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but also, how many times do you live, David Lee Scales?
Once, I suppose, is the
Exactly.
answer.
So you ain't gonna take it with you, and all the other aphorisms.
Yeah, well, he went on to say, by the way, shameless plug for some fellow content creators. We're documenting this trip on Breaking Waves Sailing on YouTube. I'll leave it with you if you decide to give us a plug on the podcast. And I'll also be in Tahiti during the Olympics and can provide some on the ground reports as that all plays out. So his name's Ben, Breaking Waves Sailing on YouTube. And I've seen him on Instagram too, if you guys want to follow along.
Then smash that subscribe button. Fellow YouTuber, more power.
Exactly. Exactly. He also says a message for the audience who's listening. If you're listening to this podcast for over a year now and you haven't signed up to contribute for $5 a month, you need to seriously reflect on what you value. Reflect on if these podcasts suddenly stopped publishing, how you would miss the weekly discourse. Would you be willing to contribute $5 a month to bring it back? If so, then clicking subscribe and supporting them helps keep the community going. Work.
Tear in my eye, Ben.
All right. Can you hear me? You're breaking up a little bit.
Yes, I can hear you. Keep
Okay.
moving my phone around. I think I'm back on bars.
Okay.
I think I solved the problem.
Cool.
Can
Looks
you hear me?
clean. Yeah.
Yeah. I had my portable battery on my phone that was overheating the phone.
Ooh, okay, good. Well, just a additional thought on signing up to support us at $5 a month. You can do it on surfsplendorpodcast.com. You can get an ad-free version of the show if you don't want to hear the ads. And then also, we're going to be giving away a bunch of surfboards again in 2024. We did this in previous years. We've got 12 lined up every month, one a month, throughout the year of 2024. And they're expensive, incredible boards that are hard to get otherwise, like Album. So we're going to hit that hard. And if you already subscribe, then you will be entered to win that. But if you want to start now, you'll still be entered. So consider doing that. And yeah, we'd appreciate it.
One a month for 12 months seems like, I always I shouldn't feel bad about hand out, hat out kind of thing. Uh, though more and more I realize that in this day and age, like the click model, the ad model, the whatever, all of that stuff is dumb. I would so rather just do this for, I don't know, for people, for friends and listeners than, yeah, the other way around.
Well, for sure. And the other thing is, I have a day job. Chaz has another job. This isn't like we're certainly not getting rich off podcasting. And more than earning or being able for my family to depend on this for an income or anything like that, I just want to invest in the business. And so being able to hire video editors, hire people to help us market the product, push it through the algorithm, all that stuff costs money. And so we need kind of the support to help grow the business. So it's an investment in the quality of the content and the frequency of the content throughout the future. And I really feel like adapting to the visual platform is the big next investment. Like we've been able to live on the podcast airwaves up until now, and I think that will always exist. But to really find traction and grow beyond what we're currently doing, we need to access that audience on visual platforms. So,
It's true. People love, let me tell you, people love to look at my face.
well, I guess that's the perfect segue then to our weekly. I mean, it's becoming a regular segment about inland surfing on this show, not just ocean surfing. And for your second episode of your vlog, Chaz Smith Hates Surfing, you snagged a wave pool pioneer.
Thomas J. Lochtefeld. It doesn't get any more royal than that as far as wave pools go, David Lee Scales. Have you ever met? You did a podcast with Tom J, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Thomas J. Lochtefeld is every bit as amazing as his resume.
Give us his background as it relates to wave pools.
So Tom Lochtefeld is San Diego, long time, or yeah, born, still lives in La Jolla. Was, if I got it right, he was a real slab hunter. Him and his brother like would love to go just like finding dirty slabs and getting into them. And so then he recreated that feeling with the Flow Rider. You know the Flow Rider. Everyone knows the Flow Rider. So Tom Lochtefeld invented the Flow Rider. Uh, and it wasn't exactly right. He knew, like, he dreamed of doing always like the perfect wave pool. And he knew Flow Rider wasn't right, but he's a very practical man and knows that space and all of this is essential. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tracking.
You do an amazing job of not blinking. I
I
thought we were frozen.
apologize. I'll keep moving so you know I'm not frozen. Sorry.
You really do a good non-blink. In any case, though, so yeah, Tom Lochtefeld invented the Flow Rider, sold it, sold his house, to he maybe sold his house to invent the Flow Rider. In any case, sold the Flow Rider, started. I think he's done a couple other technologies. He's been in like water theme park, water theme park business for decades and decades and decades. So really knows both not only the ideal kind of thing to do, the big dream, but knows that also we got to make this big dream practical. These things
Yeah.
have to fit somewhere. They have to, they can't use all the energy in the world, all this kind of stuff. So his newest, of course, of, I don't know, maybe a decade old now, is SurfLock, which is the technology that is, I think, the best in the world. The one that is currently being employed at the new Palm Springs Surf Club just opened. So instead of a sled like the Slater wave pool that drags through the ocean, it's not mechanical. It is he uses caissons. So air goes into basically chambers and shoots out. And as he discusses on the episode, the variation, what they can do is infinite because they can like, yeah, like Kelly's sled or Kelly's pool, they basically have three settings. It's always going to be the same. There's 1, 2, 3. That wave is going to be the same every time because the plow is going the same way. The bottom is the same. Everything is the same. When these air chambers are firing, they can fire them differently. And so they can make all kinds of waves. It's like
Yeah.
I mean, you can make it's art as opposed to just a mechanical kind of thing. Yeah, so that's what's used in Waco, or sorry, in Palm Springs, and I think this will be the one that moves forward.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I've surfed a number of the different technologies, including this one, and I agree with him. It is the most versatile and the most fun to surf as well. And I don't know if he said on your show how many uh, chambers,
Caissons,
yeah,
yeah.
chambers or caissons are in the back of the pool. Do you know the count?
I think on and I could be totally wrong here, but I think at Palm Springs it's 6.
I think it's
Uh,
so.
It might be more, but he can do it down to four. I mean, I think he said on the episode, he can do one of these in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Like, of course, the
Okay.
ride is shorter and everything, but he can, this thing is scalable. So you can
Yeah.
add more or add less.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that if you added more, if you had an infinite, footprint, you can add a number 100 of these, and then that only increases the variability of the styles of waves that you could produce. The one in Palm Springs, it's a bare minimum of 8, but I feel like maybe it's 12. In the back of the
Okay, yeah,
pool,
it might be 6 on 6.
the back of the pool isn't just one wall. It's actually 3 walls that are staggered. So it's almost like a V. The back wall, and then closer to you in the pool, there's a left wall and a right wall that are kind of, I believe they're even shaped it like a V at an angle. And so with that angling shape, you can punch out different amounts of, energy out of any of them to create refractions and wedges and kind of things like that. So yes, super versatile. There's a couple of the videos that are going around online right now that really show the versatility. Because when you just see a close up of the wave, you don't really get an appreciation or a feel for it. You kind of need that pulled back angle to see how the water is moving through the pool to really get a full appreciation. And it's incredible. It is my favorite technology that exists so far that we've seen at full scale. So,
Yeah, and it's the one, and Tom gets into it, right? About basically how Kelly's pool, and Tom Lochtefeld is not a hater at all. He's not like saying these technologies are bad, mine is good. He's thought about this his entire life. And again, not just for perfection, but for how does this actually work? How does this scale? How can people build these? Because you can't just build something at a loss, right? People are going to build these expecting to make money. And so how does all this work? He's thinking about all this. And his theory, like I would imagine totally correct, is that the mechanical is dead. You can't do mechanical wave pools like Surf Ranch, where you have a mechanism dragging a machine dragging a plow through the water. These things are going to break. These things are
yeah,
unsustainable. They're not going to work. His of air blasts is the thing that, and a caisson breaks. You don't have to rip the whole thing apart. You can take the caisson or replace the vacuum part in there, and you're up and running again. Where everything breaks, of course, but yeah, it feels like this is the future way. His is the future wave pools, and I think he's excited to just get, this Palm Springs one is just the start.
yeah.
And he talks about it again on the episode of the, dream is everywhere in America, basically, or everywhere in the world, you can have a wave pool.
So, is he financially invested or involved in the Palm Springs Wave Co, or did he just license the tech out?
He ain't. So he bought the property. So
He
the
was
Palm
involved.
Springs Surf Club. Yeah, so the Palm Springs Surf Club is on a existing, or there was a water park. It was Wet and Wild in Palm Springs. I've been there. Did you ever go to Wet and Wild?
No, I didn't. But
Yeah, I went to Wet and Wild a couple times as a kid, and even as an adult. But so Tom Lochtefeld bought Wet and Wild all by himself, and then said, we're doing this, and uh, got investors, and then sold the whole property to these investors underneath where the guarantee was they had to use SurfLock tech in the pool. So he is not involved at all. He's sold everything. He said he can't even get dates to surf the pool any more than you or I could.
gotcha.
So yeah, he just wants to get, I don't think owning something matters to him as much as he just wants this tech out there. And that was the
Got
way he
it.
could do it, right? He bought this, which is so much smarter than the other people who are trying to propose stuff in Palm Springs specifically, right? Like buying land, trying to develop it, trying to clear water rights and all this stuff with community and blah, 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 blah. This was an existing water park. So he already had every license, everything was already done. Like
Yeah.
it was a guarantee slam dunk. And yeah, he talks about it in the episode, but how this thing could have been live a lot earlier, but yeah, the in people who bought it from him, were looking for a certain kind of overall thing. So they needed more time to build out different stuff.
Y-
But this pool
Yeah.
could have been up and running, said like a couple of years ago.
Well, and they hit COVID through that too.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
the investment group bought it before COVID, and part of their plan was certainly to develop the property beyond the pool, but also to demo the old pool and be able to build a larger footprint. So that pushed them into COVID, and then COVID slowed everything down. Um, so the question, though, that he is addressing or that he's hoping to kind of solve is really about the economic model for these wave pools. And Kelly's could exist for the elites with just very few pools around the world. But once more pools come online, it's really going to reduce the interest in Kelly's pool as well. Kelly's pool only really it creates it's the most interesting when he's the only one who exists. But as other people have access to pools elsewhere, it's going to really take the interest off his. So I got an email from a listener who chimed in about the Palm Springs wave pool, who does financial modeling for a living. And he said, "Hey, David and Chaz, I'm excited to have grabbed one of the first public sessions, surf sessions at Palm Springs Surf Club in January. I heard on your podcast and elsewhere that this facility cost $80 million to build. That number seemed staggering, especially considering the reasonable $200 that I paid to get a spot. I got curious about the economics of the pool and decided to do some math. Let's assume their investors want a 10% annual return. That's $8 million a year. Let's assume they profit $100 per surfer per session. That means they would need 80,000 surfers sessions per year to turn a 10% profit. Let's assume 12 surfers per session. That's 6,666 sessions per year. Let's assume they operate every day of the year and the sessions last 1 hour. That's 6,666 sessions per year is 18 sessions per day. That math suggests that they would need the pool to be 100% full every day for 18 hours per day in order to turn that 10% profit. I do this sort of financial analysis for a living, so I feel confident that I'm at least within 25% of the real numbers. The math suggests that it will be hard to make these pools profitable. I ran these numbers earlier in the week and I assumed I must be missing something, but then I heard some rumors, perhaps you've heard these rumors too, that suggest that this actually might be right. Keep work anonymous. 18 hours a
Yeah, I
day,
think
all
that
year
there,
long.
yeah, and I think Tom was pretty felt confident that they would be able to recoup their investment within 3 years. Uh, and I don't know if that's what they're, because it's not just a pool. All these things are not just a pool. They're a pool, and there's a couple restaurants there, right?
Yeah, a couple restaurants. There's two restaurants. There's Beach Club. There's a water park with slides you can go down. It costs $25 a day
Exactly.
just to enter the property if you want to just watch your husband surf.
Yeah. So I think through all in all, I think the people who have done this, I think anything like this is a risk, but I think they're smart guys. And I think the thought is that they're going to recoup investment in 3 years is the hope. But I mean, that's why I think Lochtefeld is an anomaly kind of because he is that mad scientist, but he's also really, really, really practical of what do we need to, these things can't exist as pipe dreams. They need to exist in real life. And what does that look like? What do these look like in real life? Which again is why he made Flowrider, right? Nobody would, and he wouldn't say Flowrider is the ideal. I made the perfect surfing experience. No, he started there of like, what can I do? What can I do with what we have with a footprint, with a cost model, with all of this kind of stuff? And look at how successful Flowrider is. I feel that SurfLock will be that of actual wave pools.
Yeah, well, the the technology is obviously proven at this point, but the financial kind of aspect of it, the business model aspect of it, the people that I know who are involved in that level at this pool are shrewd and proven. They have a successful track record. It's a dynamic team. It's not just three investors or something like that. It's a dynamic team of people with different skill sets. And I trust that they've ran all the models and have this all sorted out.
The unknown, I reckon, in the equation is how many people actually want to surf, right? Like that's something that I think is hard to figure out of how many people are going to they like to surf once a year in the ocean. How many people actually want to surf? Because you're going to have to keep those, turnstiles moving with people who want to surf. How interesting is or appealing is surfing generally as a thing to do, which that'll be the interesting part, I think.
You're right. That's the hardest number to figure out. But the hedge that they took here was placing it in Palm Springs, which is 2 hours from three major surfing counties: San Diego County,
Well,
uh, Orange County, and Los Angeles County, and also a heavily destinationed location, even outside of just the Southern California people that can drive it in 2 hours.
Well, and that's what Tom basically said when I asked, where are these going to go next? If you could write your ticket, he said Florida. He's said basically all of these are going to go coastal initially because that's where people surf.
Yeah.
So people have to understand surfing to want to do surfing, and then they will move inland from there, right? Like I think Waco and these ones are kind of outliers in terms of putting it somewhere where there's not that is properly inland, not, but even Texas, I suppose, has a sort of surfing community. Uh, but yeah, like I think they're going to start coastal. But did you hear the one that he talked about building one for a guy in his backyard?
No.
Yeah,
What's
rich
the
Florida
story?
dude. Yeah, just a rich Florida guy saw it and said, I want one, and bought it over Zoom with Lochtefeld. And so Lochtefeld, I think it was a $10 million build in the guy's backyard. And the dude brought in like five friends to split the cost or something. And he has a private surf lock in his backyard.
That's unbelievable. That's
Yeah,
the
which
dream. I mean,
is,
that's the ultimate dream. That's
yeah.
the dream that it's a
Well,
fantasy that you would never even think could come to fruition.
yeah, no, he has I think it was 10 million bucks and he has a private one. And Tom talks about, like I said, what's the length of ride, right? Where he like the Kelly's length of ride was something insane, of course. I mean, we've all done it. It's like
Seven,
30
seven
seconds or
hundred,
something.
700 yards.
Yeah, and I think Tom said the Palm Springs one, depending on how they adjust it, can either be a 12-second ride at the longest or a 7-second ride. But I think a 7-second ride is like the average wave that you get in out in the ocean is like 7-ish seconds, which is weird, right?
Yeah, it is weird.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. But it makes sense, I guess. That's like
I mean,
as long.
that's an average beach break for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, not a point. Yeah, your average like Southern California beach break wave is
Yeah.
like 7 seconds.
Well, that's pretty interesting and exciting. Great job getting Tom. It almost feels like you don't actually hate surfing.
I sure do, David Lee Scales. I
Mm,
hate surfing.
mm.
Yeah, there's going to be some fun guests coming up, hopefully, as this keeps going. But man, yeah, YouTube. Who knew?
I've learned not to tease guests because schedules are always in
Of
flux, no
course.
matter how
Of
locked
course.
down they seem. But
I'm
yeah,
teasing nobody, but yeah, there's fun ones theoretically in the pipeline.
sweet. Well, slight transition here. Beach Grit published an article that says Hawaiian strongman Fast Eddie Rothman delivers home truths on gentrification of hallowed North Shore. So during the Pipe Masters, the Vans Pipe Masters, they had a kind of rotating commentary crew, as they often did, as they often do. But one of the mainstays was Makua Rothman. Mahina Florence was joining him in the booth at one point, which is Nathan Florence's wife. And then Eddie Rothman entered for a short segment. And I got a bunch of notifications from people, DMs and stuff saying, "Oh my gosh, did you hear Eddie on the mic?" And even Makua too at portions of the event. And I had not been listening. I had the volume down. By the time I went to go check, turns out Vans had deleted that segment of the show from their broadcast. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
Yeah.
What in the world? And
So
just
he
about him talking about like North Shore getting gentrified
yeah, I think yes. I don't know how much they edited out, but the part that everybody was telling me to go listen to, I asked
is
one
gone.
person, yeah, I asked one person in particular. I'm like, "Do you know which part it was? Like approximately which heat or whatever?" He goes, "Yeah, I know exactly. Let me go find it." He goes to find it, it's deleted. Everything else leading up to it,
Man.
there's just a gap in the broadcast now.
I mean, amazing. The duplicitousness of big brands and World Surf League, not that they were involved in that, but like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
if you can't have Eddie Rothman in the booth spinning home truths, then what are you?
Yeah.
Like, what is surfing at that?
Well, so the article on Beach Grit was written because one of, just a viewer filmed it on his phone and did publish it. So it does still exist on the interweb somewhere. And ultimately, the segment that he published wasn't as incriminating as some of the stuff that people had been telling me about through DM. But the part that he published was Eddie talking about the olden days, how they used to regulate basically, and how that's actually good for the lineup. It's actually safer for the lineup by keeping kooks out of the way and all that sort of stuff. But I'm curious, presuming you watched that clip, right?
No.
You did not watch it. Okay. Because
Sorry. Yeah.
no, it's okay. There is a part where he seemed it's the clip is cut. Whoever filmed it on their phone and published it cut a couple of things, probably to get the most scintillating parts. But it seems like at one point, Eddie is actually talking about female surfers. And then he goes into talking about kicking Barneys out of the water and regulating who surfs when. And what I gleaned from it, but I couldn't quite tell exactly, was he was talking about keeping women out of the water for their own good. Like, this is for the women's safety. We would kind of tell them when they could surf, when they couldn't, and that was for their own good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't heard the clip, and maybe he does state that, but
Okay.
I've spent a fair amount of time with Eddie Rothman over my days. Uh, I spent a good chunk of time with Eddie Rothman. Love me some Eddie Rothman, but he never said there was none of that ever in our conversation. So if he said that on the podcast or on the broadcast, that is nothing that he had ever hinted at in our chats.
Okay, good. Then I don't want to miss speak for him, especially since I didn't hear it. Um, but what are your thoughts? Do you have a first of all, I'm curious on what your thoughts are on the boundary line for when it's appropriate to silence somebody who goes rogue on broadcasts like that.
Never. In surfing, it should be never. Like what's the point? Like to treat, and I mean, don't get me started about surfing, but like this is what everybody started this. Everybody fell in love with this because it was rogue, because it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't normal, right? It was like bums and it was dropouts and it was derelicts and it was all of this stuff. And of course, surfing has gotten so, I don't know, just washed, scrubbed clean, sportified, whatever it is. Uh, but in surfing, especially, I mean, if I could see someone scrubbing something, I suppose, if Eddie Rothman stood up and went on like a racist tear or something that was like really just, okay, this is not cool, right? If he started wishing death to people or something, then I would think, okay, I guess he crossed a line. But outside of that, I mean, the lack of rawness in surfing, and we can blame the WSL, we can blame Vans, we can blame the Arena Group, we can blame all of these people. But and I feel this is like just a broken record sometimes on this podcast of all of this stuff is why we fell in love with this to begin with. If you rip that out, then surfing as a sport sucks. Surfing as a sport is not as interesting as ice skating. Let's be quite honest. Ice skating is better as a sport to watch than surfing. Surfing is good because of its DNA, because of its history, because of its heart. Uh, you take that out, then I mean, yeah, call me Bobby Martinez, I guess. Like, then I don't want to be part of this fucking wannabe tennis tour. Like, that's all it is. And I can't believe that everybody's just so scared. You got the Vans intern there who's probably in charge of the broadcast, right? Like, everybody's pulling budgets everywhere. So I'm sure the Vans guy in charge of this, he's not way up. He's worried, oh man, my new bosses are going to hear this and blah blah. So, like nobody has a spine anymore. Nobody has a spine anymore. And everybody is beholden to moneyed interests at the top. WSL is beholden to Dirk Ziff. So this could never go off on a WSL broadcast, right? You can't have talk about billionaires fucking the world because, uh-oh, surfing is owned by a billionaire. Vans is a multi-billion-dollar traded company, even though it's tanking, but you can't talk about, you know, shit made in China being lame, or you can't say any, so you just can't say anything, and people are always better safe than sorry, better safe than sorry, better safe than sorry, which I understand at the bottom level, the dude who's barely getting paid to do this, and just the, you know, bloodbath in the surf industry over the years. Like there's no jobs out there anymore. So I get that guy like thinking I'm scared. But now that's what surfing is. Surfing in terms of the like culture and media aspect of it is just a bunch of scared people who are worried about losing a job, and that's it. And so then you cut Eddie Rothman talking about something as simple as gentrification, and like fuck that.
Yeah. Um, I understand the corporate interest to remove a liability. You know what I mean? But I don't, I guess all that it comes down to is what did Eddie Rothman say? Because if he was, there is a boundary line there that can be crossed that you as a company have to stake your claim on kind of a moral ground and say, we're going to just wipe this from the internet and hope that we don't get held to task for it because it creates a liability for us. Um, I don't know that he
Did you
said
catch? Did you get?
anything. I
Yeah.
think
Did you? And
I
but
think
did did you get the clip? Watch the clip. I got this sent to me a bunch of times. Of I can't remember who was watching
Cliff.
it.
It was Cliff
Who
Capono.
Cliff Capono talking about we can't, we're not women, so we don't know what they're thinking out there. But da, 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 and
Yes.
like went on a and Cliff Capono, Doctor Cliff Capono, right?
Yes.
Is he a doctor? Yeah, is like I'm sure he's a legend and all. And clearly he didn't mean to say anything wrong. Uh, he was just like riffing on we're not women, I'm not a woman, blah blah blah, and then trying to riff on like feelings versus thinking or something.
Yeah.
It was,
He got lost.
a guy in a what?
He got lost in his thought.
You got lost in his thought, and it's a guy in a booth getting lost in thought. You know how you solve that problem? Put a fucking woman in the booth. Like, my goodness gracious, Vans. Like, it's a very easy solve. You just have somebody there in the booth, and then you can say, hey, what do you, particularly when it's a girl's heats, right? Or anytime, just have somewhere where Cliff Capono can throw to a woman. The fact that Vans didn't have a woman in the heat, and I will say Vans is notoriously bad to their female riders. Like, they
Hmm.
are not a woman friendly company, which is super disappointing for Vans, I think, as something Vans should look at.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting watching Eddie. Now I'm gonna ladle some criticism on Eddie to a certain degree. It's interesting to watch and hear him talk because he unlocks some primordial memory for me, some vestige in my brain that my ancestors remember being intimidated by him. It's like a caveman sort of a thing. And the way that he talks, he's almost grunting throughout his delivery of it, with he's giving like these ooh, uh, kind of early man masculinity. And I'm wondering if that visual is what scares Vans or whoever's pulling the reins here more than what he's actually saying. Like he's talking about gentrification, which isn't actually that offensive. I mean, it's not offensive at all, it's factual. And then mentions females. And with the visuals and the way of the delivery, it's just like, this is dangerous. They're not actually hearing the words that are coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, and very possibly, but why have it if you're not willing to like push the envelope a bit, then why invite Eddie on? It's not like they had to or were contractually obliged to give Eddie Rothman his, you know, whatever, 15 minutes in the booth. Like Eddie has his whole event to who he shoot out. Like he can talk everything he wants there, right? Vans is not beholden. And so if you're gonna be like lily livered and be pressured into putting Eddie on the broadcast, but then also be lily livered by cutting what he says, then grow a friggin' spine, Vans.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty interesting. Well, in a tangential related story, a YouTuber who almost decapitated Makana Pang is back in Hawaii. This email came through last night. It said, dudes, I cannot believe it. The kook YouTuber who almost decapitated Makana Pang at Pipeline is back on the North Shore. He put up a video on 12/17 of him going back to meet his quote pro surfer buddy. I put in quotations because I don't know who the guy is and I couldn't be bothered to Google who he was. But some of the highlights from the video: A, he's still a goober. B, apparently a pro surfer friend is willing to hang with him and even show his face on the video. C, he 100% claimed to get barreled on a boogie board at KK's. D, he tried to get barreled on mush closeouts on a surfboard. And lastly, he wants to get barreled before even being able to do any sort of turns. Um, I'll just elaborate here a little bit. The 20-minute video vlog is this guy. I won't say his name because I don't want to drive attention to his YouTube account, but his whole thing is, I'm from California. My goal in life is to get barreled and come out of a wave. So that's the premise of the video. He flies to Hawaii, first gets a boogie board at Costco. So he goes out and tries to boogie board. And as our emailer said, fully claims that he got barreled on the boogie board. Go watch the footage. Does not get barreled on the boogie board. Gets lipped in the head on closeouts. I mean, probably didn't even get a second of a barrel vision on the boogie board. Certainly didn't make it out, but in the video is fully claiming like, okay, now that I got barreled on my boogie board, I'm going to go out there and try it on a surfboard. So then he goes out, in all irony, which was not intentional, riding a Pang, riding a TNC Pang shaped by the father of Makana Pang. So stands up, he goes out and surfs a mushy wave. There's no barreling waves even out that day, and gets to his feet and goes straight, and then is like, man, I didn't quite get barreled today. Has no awareness that there was no opportunity to get barreled. Anyways, back to the listener, says, so the barrel or nah, this tub of toothpaste even showing up on the North Shore, is that barrel to come back despite the deserved hate that he got, because Hawaii is the land of aloha? Or is it no barrel because he is an absolute dingleberry that does not deserve to walk on the same hallowed sand that he so utterly disrespected last year? Keep my name anonymous, but thanks.
Yeah, I mean, so read the email, laughed, did not write about it because I don't want to give this kook any air at all. Glad you didn't say his name. Nobody go watch his video. It's not worth watching. The idea of him is all that we need. And I guess back to Eddie's point, this guy could not have gone to the North Shore 20 years ago, right? He would have, for what he did out there, he would have been seen at Foodland and just chased away, like as soon as he tried to come back, deservedly so, because he did something out at Pipeline that was not only dangerous, but very, very selfish, right? Like he was doing this for clicks. He was doing this for clout, essentially, which is like, so you're going to hurt somebody for clout, like for YouTube clicks, like screw off A. B, to come back and goober around. I mean, he's such a clueless shitbag. Uh, I mean, he's absolutely embarrassing.
It
And I
really
can't
is
believe
embarrassing.
he's like shockingly embarrassing to watch.
Yeah.
And the problem with this kind of kid, I feel, is that hearing this kind of criticism that you are properly embarrassing, like makes him think, oh, they're talking. That's all he cares about is attention. So, that's good. Like, so yeah, do not watch this kid, but that kid should be pounded.
So you said he wouldn't have been able to come to North Shore 20 years ago. I went to the North Shore 20 years ago, and just to give them credit, I've never been hassled on the North Shore. I certainly didn't show up with
Yeah,
a
but you didn't
camera. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you
I
didn't
know
you didn't
you
paddle
weren't.
out a pipe and almost take somebody's head off.
Exactly. I know you weren't making that point, but I'm just stating because I don't want the North Shore to be maligned, or seem like it's
No.
barbaric or anything like that. Like my experience always in Hawaii, everywhere in Hawaii, including the North Shore, has been, I keep quiet, I keep to myself, I'm respectful of everything. I understand, I've done enough, whatever, trying to understand the culture and the etiquette to where I then try to live by that etiquette and those rules and not step out of line. And everybody's treated me with nothing but aloha and kindness and grace. And it works out fine.
I mean,
I didn't get
totally. And
barreled
I'm
at Pipeline and you know what I mean? But that's fine. I also didn't get
and not
punched.
to not to make Eddie and Dahui and the Wolfpack and all the enforcers pass sound like saints. Of course they're, whatever. Like everybody has very many faults. Except I think the brand of kind of respect this place that they baked in during those times is how we should all travel the world, right? We should go anywhere new and not just think, oh, I'm the one coming in with my money. So I want this experience and this experience. I'm going to take this, this, this. It's the way we should travel in Europe. It's the way we should travel in Mexico. It's the way anytime you go somewhere, you should think, this is not my house. I am going to treat it as a guest and not a loud, rude, obnoxious, drunk guest, but a polite, like, you guys know, I don't know. Like it just should be, that's the way travel should be done, to be honest. The way that we used to, or people used to have to go to the North Shore of, it's not like you had your tail between your legs the whole time. You were just not home and treating it, as you would if you were a great house guest.
Well, the irony that needs to be brought up here is that there's a good possibility that the reason this kooky YouTuber is even going to the North Shore is because he was influenced by Eddie Rothman's own son, Koa Rothman's YouTube channel that is constantly, I mean, Koa Rothman has a very successful YouTube channel and he's highlighting all of these things and making it look glamorous. So there's a bit of irony there.
I mean, 100%. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, you're fine.
Uh, yeah, 100%, right? And I'm sure Eddie would be the first to admit that, yeah, what are you going to do? Go along, get along. Which, from Derek's story, I read Derek's story on that, and it seemed like Eddie both lamenting the past, and that's the thing too. People point out Eddie's a hypocrite. Well, you're from Philadelphia via Texas, whatever. Like, why are you saying this or that about anything? You're a blow-in too. Eddie fully recognizes himself as that, right? When he talks about the Hawaiian people, and he will regularly talk about the Hawaiian people in reverential tones, Eddie is never placing himself in that group. Eddie talks specifically about the Hawaiian people separate from himself. He knows very much that he is not a local, right? Nor does he
Yeah.
pretend to be. Like
Yeah.
he's there because he loves that place. He loves those people. And right or wrong, he spent his entire life fighting for them, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, while we are on the North Shore, let's do some true grit or clickbait shit.
Let's
Uh,
do it.
Surfer Magazine bot throws sexually charged grenade at Jamie O'Brien! Exclamation point.
It's true. The Surfer Magazine has employed the Devin Howard bot is a pretty good writer. I will give the Devin Howard bot a pass. The bot named Devin Howard. Uh, I'm sorry, not Devin Howard.
Jake Howard.
Poor Devin Howard. Sorry, Devin Howard, for besmirching your good name. Jake Howard. The Jake Howard bot, I'll give a pass. Whatever that bot is who wrote that story, like it's one thing to write clickbait. It's one thing to write bad copy. Look at me, right? I'm out there spewing every day, but I make myself laugh with my writing all the time. And I make Derek laugh, and there's something to it, I'll say, not to toot my own horn, but that word salad garbage that comes out of there is so, like, he talked about pipeline and talked about a part, or I mean he was talking about pipeline and then he like referenced some people standing around in a parking lot playing grab ass, surfers stand like not wanting to surf, right? And I don't think it was that wasn't directly related to pipeline, but I was thinking, what kind of weird reference to is standing around, I think he said, with $75 coffee mugs playing grab ass? When was the last time you saw people, quote, playing grab ass, end quote, in a parking lot ever? Like,
I don't think I have
just get
actually.
a little wrestle before the surf. Like,
That
it's
is
just
a funny
nonsense.
term.
Grab ass. It like grab ass. I fully get using the term grab ass if you're like in a high school gym, right? And the boys are running around like wrestling and being silly gooses. Like that's grab ass, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I haven't seen physical interact like men pinching each other on the buttocks or anything like that. Like, so why you said that? It's just so dumb. It's such a lazy, weird turn of phrase to pull out. And then, yeah, so that was my beef. That was my beef. Is just this poorly written garbage.
It is so funny. I just Googled the term grab ass to try to figure out what the origins are. And I mean, it's the act. I mean, it is what we already know it is. It's the act of wrestling or chasing another person with the intention to squeeze that person's butt. Why is that a game?
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, I mean, the only scenario that I can envision doing it with is my wife, and in which case there is a sexual connotation. So, is it only a sexual thing?
I mean, I could see like in my mind, it's mostly like, just prepubescent boys all like hopped up, at gym class and
I
running
never,
around
we never
like,
grabbed each other's butts, dude.
I mean, yeah, maybe like, I don't know, but definitely not in a surf parking lot. And I don't know why Surfer AI bot. Surfer is, yeah, it's really frustrating. I mean, both Surfer and Sports Illustrated, and I'm sure all the Arena Group titles, just making, and I've heard that I can't remember if it's Bike Magazine, it's one of their bike titles, has from what I've heard, an even more rage-filled fan base of what the Arena Group has done to that title. Like when you move into places people care about, and then you just write and publish garbage nonstop, especially when that title has emotional attachments for people.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and you just say, okay, we're turning this into a, you know, wild ad machine. Here we go. But there's a way to do that to make your pro and hire like actual decent writers who actually write decently. Like just this degradation, and I'm sure so many people would throw me in under the degradation of the written word, but I do it on purpose. These people are doing it on accident, which makes me rage filled.
An argument could be made yours is an art.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if again, I hate any kind of self-compliment, but I'm doing what I'm doing very purposefully, uh, right or wrong. Surfer AI bots are doing it accidentally, just out of shit, like they're just shitty writers. They should quit.
I'm gonna bring back grab ass at my holiday gatherings these next few days. How would it be if I just walk up to the various men at the party and just pinch their butt?
I'm gonna do it tonight on stage during the party scene at Nutcracker.
We're gonna see the headline in the news tomorrow of Chaz getting kicked out
You sure will.
of the Nutcracker.
Sir Fred and
Um,
Chell Smith held on suspicion of sexual harassments.
well, following the same theme, quote, notable surf personality Peter King slams World Surf League over hypocritical Chopu Tower silence, exclamation point.
He sure did and hit the ball out of the park on this one, I think.
He does. He
The
does a good
of,
job at hitting the
of
ball.
I mean on this one he like it was a dead center smack out of the park. Like or dislike Peter King, he was right on this one. His beef was so of course everyone who listens, I'm sure, knows that the judging tower at Chopu has been a big mess the whole time. So it's officially going through, right? So heard today from a source, uh, excuse me, the drilling of the reef has begun. It's all going forward. Um, in any case, ISA, who has been Olympic lapdogs up till now, right? I mean, Fernando,
Yeah.
chief of the IS International Surfing Association, he was so thirsty for the Olympics, would do anything, would travel the world looking like a clown to get surfing accepted to the Olympics. He did. It
Yep.
is bravo. But Fernando and the ISA came out and said, we don't back this new judging tower. We can do it from the beach. We can judge it from the beach with drones, right? The Olympic organizers said, nope, don't care, drilling. So they're doing that, all fine and good. ISA took a stand. WSL, who has their One Ocean program that has actually planted coral at Chopu, has been silent this entire time. They don't even have a horse in the race. They're not, I mean, they're the qualifying, whatever, way to qual or a way to qualify for the Olympics. But outside of that, how does the World Surf League not step up? And ISA's statement was not long, but it was very clear. It was ISA does not back this. Uh, World Surf League silence And the hypocrisy, the ongoing hypocrisy with what they do with the environment is absolutely shameful. It could not, in fact, be more shameful.
Beyond silence. They were silent about that specific matter, but what Peter King took umbrage with was they posted on their Instagram account their annual purpose and impact report for 2023. So Peter screenshots that and basically says, here we have WSL One Ocean bragging about their great work in Tahiti planting coral while being completely silent on the tower needlessly being built that will destroy that exact coral.
I mean, it is totally insane, and I will give it to Negatron, dear Negatron, Beach Grits, moderator for the comments, wonderful New Zealand man, who said in response to that, people forget that the World Surf League is now a single mom who doesn't surf with kids, who drops her kids off, goes to a couple hours of work, comes up, basically is so unattached to anything real as far as surfing goes that to expect anything from them is silly at this point. They are completely checked out. Like from the everything they do, World Surf League is yeah, it's just, I mean, Peter King calls them fraudulent, and they are. They're just frauds.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but even though Negatron is correct in his kind of analogy there, it's still important to point out the hypocrisies along the way.
For sure. And this was a major, massive one. Peter King also mentions how WSL had no problem hopping on the ISA's bandwagon when the ISA allowed or made the rule where trans men could surf in women's heats, right? Like,
Yeah,
and WSL jumped on that without taking any stand or taking the stand of ISA did it, so we're doing it too. So you're going to be following the ISA on one thing, but then not following them on another seems duplicitous at best.
completely. I mean, the other thing is they just don't have a CEO running the company right now, right? To even like,
Yeah,
and even the one that they did have before was just a windsock anyways. And so he was just doing whatever he was blowing, whichever wind the social, whatever social justice warriors were blowing at the time, or that the
yeah.
billionaire wanted him to blow. So what we
I
really
mean,
I would love to see is just a visionary who has some direction and an opinion, and then will state very clearly why they're making the decisions they're making.
the nasty thing I think about like greenwashing or, like being artificial with issues of morality or whatever is that these are real things, right? If you're
Yeah,
like selling surfing in a weird way, then okay, that's fine. Like surfing, we all love it and whatever, but like being totally two-faced about the environment, nobody nobody made you make the WSL One Ocean. Like you clearly don't care about the environment. You're clearly using it purely as propaganda. So just stop. Like just stop with the propaganda. I wouldn't hold the World Surf League to account. If World Surf League said, this is, we love the ocean, we're in the ocean, we do beach cleanups every once in a while, when we're there, I guess, and we try not to leave a big footprint. Other than that, we're not an environmental organization. The WSL itself is the one who branded as no, we have the WSL One Ocean who releases their impact report, who says, look at us and the good we're doing in the world that is purely performative, has nothing to do with anything other than somehow making the company money.
yep, agreed. It's wild.
Weird
Well,
day.
we want to make sure that you get on stage on time this evening. So let's go to a commercial break and then we'll be back with Barrel or Not.
Great.
Chaz, we're back from commercial. How freaking crazy is it how much John Florence looks like John Daly?
John Daly and John Florence. Not only initially I thought that John Daly was John Florence's father, that there was a real possibility. Now they look so much alike. I'm thinking this is a total rift in the Matrix where John Daly and John Florence are the same person. But it was just like the Matrix glitched there and it gave us two of the same guy. One's older, one's younger, but it's like, oh no, same.
It's John now. It's not two
Yeah.
Johns, it's three Johns. John.
Yep. John.
And they're just one in the same. It is wild, and I cannot believe more people are not discussing it.
Nope.
Needs to be mainstream news at this point. Listener chimed in and said, "Gents, just finished listening to the latest drop and heard about the sticker on the car verdict. On this, I totally concur. It reminds me of a long-standing rule that I have had, which was recently broken by my partner without my knowledge. The rule was photographs, no photographs of yourself surfing at home. Having been a surfer, meaning not posted on your wall at home, but no photos of you surfing your home break is what he means. He says, having been a surfer for over 20 years and having surfed across the world, New Zealand, Oz, Bali, Mexico, France, Spain, I have never once hung a photo of myself riding a wave in my own home. In fact, I got it wrong. That's exactly what he meant, was posting a photo of yourself in your own home. He said that changed last month when my partner discovered a recent shot of me in a decent position at a local break here in Northumberland, UK. It now hangs in the porch of my house as a visible and physical marker of my own self-consciousness. Thanks, love the show, B.
Wow, that's a heavy one because you can't take it down. Clearly, it was
Yeah.
a gift. It was a act of love. Uh, it was so you can't say nope and pull it down, right? Like you can't expect your partner to abide by all the various nuances of the surfing life. And so if something like that happens to you, you just got to take it on the chin.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have discussed this in terms of publishing it on social media, like self-publishing it, but this is a different layer. This is somebody else publishing it for you. And I sympathize with the wife or the partner in this scenario because I will tell my wife how beautiful she looks without makeup on, let's say, or in a moment where she feels like she doesn't feel beautiful. And her response is like she rolls her eyes and she's just like, God, no, I don't. I feel gross today, or something like that. And I think, wow, she couldn't be more wrong. Like, I understand maybe she holds herself to a high standard, and right now she's not feeling like she's met that standard. And so she's very critical of my opinion. However, she's wrong. I see her in a way that really the rest of the world probably sees her as well. And I'm right that she looks great right now. And I think that's what the wife is thinking in that scenario, or the partner is thinking in that scenario. They don't know anything about surfing. They see you on this wave, and
I think that's
it's
sick.
it's a beautiful image. It's in a beautiful image. Maybe she thinks it's even a critical turn that he's doing or whatever. And she's not super savvy enough to realize the difference between him and Kelly Slater is vast. And that's the standard that he is holding himself to, which is unpractical.
Totally. But
So
and nothing he can do now. I am sorry for the daily shame that you have to live with, but you just got to learn to live with that and it'll make you a stronger person long term.
I think it's also healthy to adjust his own lens of himself and see himself through his wife's eyes and, feel good about it. Feel good about himself surfing.
One thing to for her to compliment his surfing after a day of surfing. Another thing to like make it a memorial on the wall.
That's true.
Like it'd be like if you took a picture of Lauren without makeup on when she was not feeling good
Yep.
and then blew it up real huge and framed it and said, "Here you go. Look at how beautiful you are."
Yeah, that's a good point. Hanging on the wall for her. I guess that's
Yeah.
where maybe he did not communicate to his partner his distaste for his own photographs, and she didn't know that she was overstepping, because Lauren's made it crystal clear to me that she does not approve, and so I would never go through that next step.
Yeah, that's true.
So, all right, well, it's their own conundrum to figure out. Barrel or not, all Christmas related here on December 21st. Barrel or not, ditching the phrase Merry Christmas out of respect for those who are not Christian.
No barrel, David Lee Scales. And I'm not a Donald Trumper here. I'm not saying that cancel culture is Merry Christmas just rolls off the tongue. Let it roll off the tongue. Happy Holidays does not. If you see somebody that you know is celebrating Hanukkah, then say Happy Hanukkah. If you see somebody that you know is celebrating Kwanzaa, then offer up a Happy Kwanzaa. But as the general rule, Christmas is the dominant thing, and you just say Merry Christmas. Like it just is what it is. This is the
See,
Christmas season.
I don't think I would even say Happy Hanukkah to the Jewish people, because uh I'd be faking it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any I have no appreciation for Hanukkah. It's not that I don't respect it. Like I get it that you guys are into it. I respect that, but I don't know any of those traditions. I don't know any of the reverence for it. So I'm not going to fake it by saying it to you. What I am going to
Sure, but you
say
is
is
Happy Holidays.
no, I will say Merry Christmas as well. I'm not ditching Merry Christmas either, but if they say Happy Hanukkah to me, I'm going to accept it and I appreciate the gift because that's what you're into and I accept the gift. I don't expect you to know my traditions. You know what I mean? It's
Bold,
kind of weird to
bold.
expect that anybody else would know your own preferences and traditions.
But if you see, so I think, like, let's say you're up in West Los Angeles and you see a bunch of people coming out of Temple Saturday, uh, and you go up and you say, "Merry Christmas, everybody." I think that's maybe one bridge too far.
That's an outright offense. There's no reason I would be communicating to a group of people coming out of temple. I'm saying if it's like somebody in your life, like we sent out holiday cards, right?
Yeah.
And I have the question in my mind. I'm like, Merry Christmas. I start typing it and then I go, ooh, wait a second. Are we sending this to Matt Warshaw? Because if we are, then do I have to write Happy Holidays instead?
No, but
And what?
Matt Warshaw knows. Matt Warshaw knows where he lives. He knows that he's a dang atheist and unbeliever of Jewish background. But yeah, if Matt
But you,
Warshaw is offended by Merry Christmas,
yeah, but you get what I'm saying is, as
I
me,
do.
the writer of the card, do I adjust for the Gen Pop or not? Actually, it's not for the Gen Pop. It's for the people who I'm actually going to be communicating with. And my answer is, heck no. I'm not going to adjust. They know I celebrate Christmas and I'm sharing this merriness with them. That's the intention. The intention is
I'm just
not
saying
to put my religious
I'm
beliefs
only
over yours.
I'm only saying if you bump into somebody on the street who's wearing a yarmulke and they say like, oh, and they say something to you and it becomes appropriate to wish them something, then you could say Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, I feel like that is okay for to say to somebody. I'm saying I wouldn't feel comfortable saying it because I don't know anything about Hanukkah. It would be fully fake. It would be like just pandering to them is what it would be.
Okay. Well, I'm
I'm
going
giving them a Merry Christmas.
bold, brave.
If
Let's go
you
to
run
West
into
LA.
the if you just run into a random black person and you say happy Kwanzaa to them because you think the appropriate thing,
That's
that's
racist.
more insulting to me.
That is racist, in
Exactly.
fact. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah,
Merry
Merry
Christmas
Christmas.
all around.
Say
Okay.
what you believe. And if if somebody who celebrates Kwanzaa comes up to me and says happy Kwanzaa, I would not be offended at all. I would receive that well and be like, "Sweet, like I appreciate the goodwill, and the merry wishes."
Yeah.
That's how I would
Happy
feel about
Kwanzaa
it.
to you too.
Yeah. So
Great.
stop adjusting. Just go with what you
Okay.
believe.
Down.
Okay. Barrel or nah, having a fake Christmas tree.
I'm gonna go no barrel, David Lee Scales. I totally see. I'm sure environmentally it's better, even though it's just plastic that's gonna end up in a landfill anyway, so it's probably not better. Uh, there's something about a real tree, and we've got to draw the line somewhere when it comes to tradition. As I've stated on the show before, I'm not a huge fan of turkey, but I do eat turkey during Thanksgiving, a real Christmas tree in the home, Easter eggs painted, etc., etc. Right? You've got to
Yeah.
hold the line somewhere, and I will draw it at real Christmas tree.
Well, I've always been a huge barrel for real Christmas tree. I still am, but this is the first year where the thought has crept into my mind that the amount of effort and expense involved may run its course at a certain point in my life. And the not only the amount of effort, but like um there's a tradition, the ritual of going to the tree lot is fun for the kid and all that sort of thing. But once the kid is out of the house, I'm looking at that phase of life 20 years from now, and I'm like, shoot, there's going to be 20 years beyond that of do we just get a tree at the beginning of it and we can just it's easy to put up. We don't have to go to the lot. We don't have to spend the money. I
But they're
think
still
I'm
they're still coming home. You're just gonna be like Grinchy Christmas.
yeah. Yeah, I'll reassess at the 20-year mark. Right now,
Okay.
I'm still full barrel on the
Thinking.
Christmas tree
Good.
because of the smell and the ritual and all that sort of thing. I'm
Whole
still
thing.
all barrel on it.
Okay.
Okay, pin it for 20 years from now. Final barrel or not? Taking turns to open gifts versus pure pandemonium and everyone ripping them open at once.
I'm a fan of the turn taking. I like the gift part of Christmas to be drawn out, and also teach like, I don't know, thoughtfulness and appreciation to the young ones, right? Of you open something, you examine it, you actually think about it, you thank the person who got it for you, or you thank Santa, and then you wait your turn and enjoy what somebody else is getting too, because it's not just about you. So I'm all for a real methodical, slow, thoughtful gift opening.
I like it. My one catch with this is I don't like being the center of attention and everybody staring at me and me having to give a effusive response.
Okay, so as a dad, I think you can really dodge this bullet by you hand out the gifts, you
Mm,
curate the opening as it goes, and you don't open you like quietly open yours at some point and then give the appropriate thoughtful thank you to your wife, who is the only one who is going to buy you a gift.
gotcha. Okay, I
Yeah.
like that. I'll be the
Yeah.
MC of the event, basically.
UMC, because then you don't have to sit there on the couch in your bathrobe with your matching PJs saying like, "Oh, thank you. This
Yeah,
is wonderful," while everybody
yeah,
looks.
exactly. Okay, but I do love what you're saying about the kids need to be respectful of the amount of effort and time that went into the all the gift purchasing,
Exactly. And
for sure.
speaking of, I hate to do this, but I have to run into the theater.
All right, go. Have Merry Christmas. Will we see you next week before New Year's?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's do an episode next week. Until then, listeners, happy holidays. Enjoy your time with family and see you
Merry
next week.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Keep work.
All right. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.